This is not a good photo. I should have taken more than one. This is the old receptacle that I'm going to take off of with my new wiring to power the other two receptacles that I'm installing. But the problem is this is an old box made out of what I would call bakelite, an early type of plastic. And I'm going to have to get my wire into this box, and the only way to do that is to drill a hole in it. So with that same spade bit that I showed you, I drilled a hole where the large arrow is, the large yellow arrow. I drilled a hole through it for my new wire to come through. Now where the little arrow is, I had a ground wire that I had to put in there a few years ago because my house was not wired with ground wires. When I run a new wire in here that has a ground wire, I will no longer need this wire and I'll remove it. Okay, I've got my wire coming down from my switch hole, and you see the wire coming up from the basement, and so now I'm ready to install a box. Now the wire at the bottom of this photo goes down through the 2x4 plate at the bottom of the wall into my basement, then back up through a different part of the wall to the old receptacle that I'm tying this wire into. At the end of this video, I'm going to draw a wiring schematic which will help you understand what I'm doing here. I apologize for the whistle when I talk. I chipped a tooth the other day and it left me with a whistle. Remember to put your wire through the box before you install the switch, or you'll have to remove it and do it again. I'm sure most of you know this, but when you put a wire on a screw and tighten that screw clockwise, the wire needs to be bent as shown here so that it'll tighten around the screw instead of trying to be pushed back out. Now if you're puzzled by the wires that you see here, one hot and one neutral, actually I'm using a piece of Romex to go up to the switch. So what I do is use the white wire in the Romex to carry the power back down to the receptacle. Now really you're supposed to color the end of that wire black so anyone that working on your house will know that that's a hot wire, that it's no longer a neutral wire. You will understand a little more when you see the wiring schematic at the end of this video. Here's the ground wire installed as well. Here's another view. Be sure not to install this switch upside down. It's easy to do. Here's the hole I drilled and the wire running to the new receptacle. I'll straighten that wire out neatly and use wire staples to hold it in place. Okay, now I have 3 separate Romex wires coming into this overhead box. 2 are from the new receptacles that I've installed, and the third one is the one that I'm drawing power from. I have twisted all the like wires together, all the neutral wires together, 3 of those, the 3 hot wires together, and the 3 ground wires together. These wires are twisted clockwise with pliers. These bundles of wires need to be cut off about 3/4 to an inch long, and all the wires need to be even at the end and not as shown by the red arrow here with one protruding, because that'll keep your wire nut from screwing on properly. Okay, screw your wire nut on the hot wires, the neutral wires. No need to put a wire nut on the ground wire unless you need to run another ground wire like I had to do to a nearby water pipe to provide a good ground for my surge protectors. After the wire nuts have been installed, tuck your wires back into the box, ensuring that everything's okay, and then install the box cover. Now why metal on a plastic box? Because Lowe's didn't have any, they were out of stock, so I just used a metal one. Here's another photo of the box after being nailed to the floor joist. Of course you nail your box to the joist first before you install any wires. After you've installed your switches and receptacles, The arrow shows the screws that you can loosen and move the switch or the receptacle back and forth. That's a slot. You will need to adjust these screws so that your wall plate fits on properly, and that's especially true for the receptacle plate. All finished with this wall switch. If it isn't lined up properly, if it isn't level, if it's tilted one way or the other, remove your wall plate and adjust those screws that were slotted where you can move your switch back and forth and then try it again. And this is the way your receptacles should look if you've installed them properly. It'll look like a little face. Your ground hole will be at the bottom. The neutral terminal is the wide blade, and the more narrow blade is the hot terminal. You can see the ground wire installed, and a little jumper ground wire has to run over to the other receptacle to tie them together, so they'll both be grounded. Okay, now I need to stop this video and take time to draw up a schematic for you, because that's the only way you'll ever understand it. Remember this link that joins these two receptacles when you read this wiring schematic. Pause this schematic and read it carefully. Thanks for watching this video, and I hope it's been beneficial to you. If I can do it, you can do it.